Welcome back to the pod. We're joined by another Plants vs Zombies 2 YouTuber by the name of the original Alex. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So am I.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. And we're probably gonna see you again in the next episode because that's been a kind of trend that's kind of just... A lot of things about this podcast have just accidentally fallen into place. Like, I didn't mean for it to happen. Just like this first question, which is, where do you live and what's your ethnicity? For some reason, that's just become a trend ever since Brando had the American flag at the back of his room, and I wanted to know. So, go ahead.
That's fair. Well, I'm not sure how much I want to reveal about myself, but I will say that
if you're not comfortable, you know.
Yeah, I will say I do live in America. It's been pretty obvious. I had a couple people actually kind of guess where I come from. According to my YouTube analytics, a lot of people that watch me are not from America, which is interesting. And this is a very specific tidbit, but in my, I think it was one of my, I remember what it was. It was part 4 of my PvZ challenge video. I used an image of Electric Pea Shooter in the premium shop. I already had them, so I had to find an image online. And the image online used I think the currency from the Philippines, so every one of my comments was assuming I was from the Philippines, and I had all these comments being like, "Oh my god, you're Filipino too," and I was like, "No, I just got that image online."
You know what? I think someone in the PZ wiki must be from the Philippines because I've done that exact same thing except for Plants vs Zombies 2 instead, and it has the Filipino currency in the pictures. So that's.
I think that's exactly it. Yeah, that happened to me too.
Yeah. So we're going to do some Plants vs. Zombies questions. I did a little bit less of these and a little bit more personal ones because, Plants vs. Zombies is just one part of our lives and everything, It wouldn't be an interview with the original Alex as a person compared to the original Alex as a channel. So, first of all...
It's true.
What was the first Plants vs. Zombies game you played and why?
The first Plants vs. Zombies game I played was PvZ 1. I played it because my best friend at the time had recommended it to me. And I remember I was still pretty young, so I asked my mom if I can download it, and she said yeah. And it's actually really funny. I got really into it, but my mom also got really into it. So it was just both of us. We were just big PvZ fans.
Wow.
I played through the PvZ for the first time on mobile. I had no idea at the time that it was on PC because I didn't have a PC growing up. So I remember seeing videos of PvZ with a different UI, and I was like, what is this? I think the biggest example I think of is that one really popular cheat party video for PvZ 1 where a person's using cheat engine, to get things instantly, and I was like, what is this version? But yeah,
that was just
I started playing PvZ 1 on mobile.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you, were you better than your mom, or was your mom whooping your ass at Plants vs Zombies?
It's funny. I was gonna say the second version of PvZ that I played was on the console version. I got it for my PS3, and the console version specifically has a versus mode. And I remember I'd always want to play with my mom, and she'd always pick plants, and I'd always pick zombies. And if you know anything about versus mode, you know that the zombies are ridiculously overpowered. So I have a vivid memory of her not wanting to play with me anymore nicely, because when I'd play it, because I was younger, I would just spam disco zombies and flag zombies and gargantuars to make my ultimate hardest level, and she'd just die all the time.
Young Alex.
So I guess ruthless. I was technically better.
Yeah.
I was a little bit. I didn't understand the concept of level design.
How much older was your mom compared to you, or is your mom?
I'd say she's decently young considering my age.
She had me. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say she. Well, I'm trying to think of how to put this, because originally I was gonna say she had me at a decent age, but that sounds kind of random, or it doesn't make any sense. No, I'll say that out of all my friends, I think my mom is younger than a lot of my other friends' parents, but
yeah. I was gonna say I asked that because my parents did not play Plants vs Zombies, and they do not play games in general. They're just they're too old for that stuff. But yeah,
that's
the versus
fair.
mode is so good.
Oh, it's so I love the versus mode. It's probably one of my favorite. I think the console version of PvZ 1 is honestly my favorite overall because of just All the content it adds is so much fun.
I really love
Versus
the
mode
DS
is fun.
version as
All
well.
of the DS version is really cool.
But the problem with
Actually,
DS
I kind
is-
of like that.
Sorry?
I was gonna say I just like the concept of bringing it to like a different platform and kind of working it to fit within that platform specifically. I think it's cool.
Yeah, the only problem with the DS
Yeah,
mode, I think I've said this before, but the only problem with the DS mode is that the DS version, in the versus mode, it takes about a whole minute between matches. Whereas on the consoles,
Does it
it's just
actually?
instant. So I've all throughout my childhood, the only way I could play versus mode was through the DS version, and I have to wait like 2 minutes between every single game. And then I got the Xbox 360 version recently and cracked open versus mode, and I was like, what? It's
You got it
instant?
recently? Yeah.
Yeah, I got it this year actually.
That's awesome.
Because I don't think I've
Yeah,
ever played the
it's-
mobile version. I just grew up playing the PC version, like the Game of the Year edition.
I definitely played the mobile version way before all the recent additions changes that were made that everyone's
Oh god, those are just-
complaining
yeah.
about. Yeah.
Not looking good
I know a
for
little bit
mobile
about
Plants
it.
vs Zombies. What are your favorite
not
Plants
been
vs
looking
Zombies
good.
games? Or what's your favorite game and what's your
I-
least favorite game actually?
See, this is where my answer might be kind of disappointing because I've never actually played a lot of the spin-offs. I have definitely thought about them. I remember Garden Warfare came out around the time where I was like, shooter games are just not for me. They definitely are now, so I'd consider playing them. But like, I've never played.
So you haven't
I
played
had,
Garden
I had a
Warfare?
couple friends. I've never played Garden
Damn.
Warfare. I had a couple friends who were into it. I also had a couple friends that were into Heroes during its like peak, I'd say. But I never got into it, so my extensive knowledge only relates to PvZ1 and PvZ2, in which like I like both interchangeably. I like a lot of things about one, but I also like a lot of things about two. I think
Yeah.
they're both.
I mean, you
par
would be
with each
making
other, which
videos
is-
about 2 if it wasn't at least good in some ways.
Exactly. No, I think 2 is awesome. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised because I understand that a lot of changes were kind of unpopular.
Yeah.
But like I just hate like the argument of like, oh, it's not good because it's like pay to win. It's like, first of all, that's not true.
Well-
if you're good at PvZ, you would know.
I think it is pay to win, but it's not you can't win without paying, I guess. Like, you can easily
Well-
buy premiums and just breeze through the game, but you can also beat the game normally, but it's a lot tougher.
I think the way I interpreted pay to win was that like you have to pay
You
to
have to
complete the
pay.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just like not the case.
Well, I think the public consensus has kind of shifted a lot about that, because it used to be, like, before recently, like 5 years ago or so, it used to be all the Plants vs. Zombies
was
1
this bad
elitism
thing.
and Plants vs. Zombies 2 is pay to win and everything, but right now I feel like Plants vs. Zombies 2 is looked on a lot more fondly, and there's not as much, like, elitism about Plants vs. Zombies 1.
That's true. I think another big thing that kind of helps that is modding, because with modding you don't have to worry about doing like microtransactions, obviously. So players have a lot of options to play PvZ2 without the worry of having to spend money. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Even like then you could still like, legally change your save file, obviously.
Yeah, well,
But,
I think
yeah.
that's how most people would probably get the premiums, because I don't think everyone's paying $8 Australian for every single premium. I don't know how much, I think it's 5 USD, but either way, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I unfortunately I did my first PvZ challenge on iOS, and if you know, iOS is very notorious for being hard to kind of manipulate. So a lot of the PvZ1 plans for my challenge that I ended up using later, I definitely paid full price for those.
Oh no.
But
Well,
I
you
was
probably
strategic
made
though. I
you made
waited
the
for
profit
like
back, right? From that
That's
video.
true, yeah. And I was like being strategic about it. I remember like in the challenge, I think I started it around December, so that was around the time that they put up like sales for plants. So I was like taking advantage of those to like spend as little money as possible. But
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? It is what it is. It's no big deal.
I remember when Chomper first became like $2 or $1 or something. I just snatched that up.
Oh my
straight
god,
away.
yeah.
Snoopy as well. though I
It's
hate
funny,
Chomper.
Chomper. I bought Chomper at the end of part 1 of my video on PvZ1, and it's funny that I this happens all the time. Like, it's such a simple rule in my challenge that like I don't use premiums because I want the challenge to be accessible to everyone. but I can probably like recount at least like 200 comments that I've gotten from people being like, "Why can't you use Chomper? He was in PVZ1. You have Chomper. Why aren't you using him?" And it's like, because he's premium. That's it.
Yeah.
He's only $1, but like.
I feel like over time there's been like with the Plants vs Zombies challenges, it's kind of like the rules that everyone follows is kind of like morphed over time into what it is today. Like not using level 1, not using premiums, not using CDMs and everything. Some people use premiums, some people don't. I don't think I do in my challenges. Actually, no.
It's actually really
started out not using them, and I eventually did. What about you? Do you use gemiums?
I do. I allow them because they're pretty easy to access. At least like there's ways to get gems. But I was gonna say I've noticed that a lot, that the more people get into PvZ challenges, a lot of them are a lot more flexible. I think the biggest example I could think of is a little bit of a shout out to them, I suppose. But there's another person who attempted the PvZ2 with only PvZ1 plants challenge.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Without so but their challenge, even though I've seen like people comment like, "Oh, you ripped off them," but like that's just not the case because I don't own that idea, first of all. But also like it's interesting to kind of see that same challenge from a perspective of someone that's like is a little more flexible in their rule set. It kind of like it's like, whoa, like it's the same challenge, but it's being played like in a completely different way.
Yeah,
there's a lot that's done to make it their own, and it's really interesting. I've seen a lot of PvZ challenges where people use like level plants, they'll use premiums, they'll use like mints. I've had a couple. The one I think of is there's a challenge that I think uses non-plants, and I remember like in the 5th part, I believe, when they got to like Lost City or something, they were using like Guard Shroom, which had just come out like a few months prior, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy to see Guard Shroom in like a Lost City playthrough, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know what it does. I did not keep up to date with the newest Plants vs Zombies 2 stuff.
I was gonna say you would not like it. It's very similar to Chomper.
Okay, well, I think some things are best left unsaid then. So you're also, from what I can tell, quite into the realm of Plants vs Zombies plush.
Yes. It's interesting. I do like. It's kind of like a. You know, when I was younger, I was really into collecting. I still am pretty into like collecting things. Collecting is just kind of it's human nature. But PvZ plushes are definitely up there with something I want to own a lot of, just because it's like it's something that you ever have like one of those things where it's like when you're a kid you want something really bad, and then when you think about like when I'm older I can have this now because I have like the money to afford it and all that stuff. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about it.
It's very nostalgic.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in PvZ plush. I've definitely had a lot of fair share of. I've had my fair share of criticism from other people that are more knowledgeable in it, which I've listened to because I always enjoy listening to feedback. So I definitely would never want to be considered like a, like a what's the word, a wizard. A wizard. I can't think of it, but. Plush. Yeah, I don't want to be like the person that holds all the knowledge because it's just not true. But I am into it. It's fun to research. It's fun to look into.
Well, I want to ask you.
It's been picking up recently.
Sorry, it's been picking up. It has. If you go on eBay, a lot of the recent like sales of just any plush from 2012 or 2011, they're selling for hundreds of dollars, like all of them.
That's true, and they're also releasing new ones.
Oh, really? I didn't know they were still making them.
Yeah, after I think a couple years of like nothing, they're finally releasing ones. I've gotten a lot of comments about it. I actually have 2 of them with me in my room because I just couldn't resist them. Yeah, I got a plush of Fire Gourd. There was like a original one made, but I wanted to get one for cheap because I just like Fire Gourd. And probably my favorite is Magic Shroom from PvZ2 China.
Okay, yeah, I know those.
Very popular. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite plush out of all the Plants vs Zombies plushes you own?
Out of the ones I own? I have to think about that. So I don't have very many. At least I don't think I have very many.
Well,
I think honestly.
What's your favorite, like including all of them? You don't necessarily have to own it.
Oh, okay.
I don't expect you to own every single one. That would be like thousands of dollars.
I mean, honestly, it's not. I mean, I guess for the originals, it would definitely like set you back I think my favorite overall, I think probably between, there's a really good Fume Shroom plush and there's a really good Magnet Shroom plush that are so accurate to like the original designs, and I really like both of those plants in general. So I think those two are my favorites. I mentioned Fire Gourd because the original Fire Gourd plush is one that I really want because I just like it. It looks really good, as simple as it is, which is why I bought the second version of it like immediately, because I was like, I might not have the money to spend on this like $100 one, but at least I can have a smaller one just to as a keepsake,
Yeah, that's fair. Did you watch Luigi Fan growing up?
I did.
Yeah, that's like a canon event for every single Plants vs Zombies fanatic growing up.
That's true. Yeah, I was gonna say I was so jealous of his he made collection. A video. Yeah, I still think about that video to this day.
When I was a kid, that was my favorite video on the whole platform. I love that video.
It's funny. It's funny because a lot of people, actually, I think Luigi Fan commented. I know he did on my plush video, which was really cool to see. I referenced him a lot. But I think when it came to like plush videos, because that was a big thing. I think I started with this, and it sounds silly, but I started with like watching Angry Birds plush videos. Okay. I remember there was this one YouTuber called like, I think it was it was like Super Ugly 18 or something like that, but I was like obsessed with his videos, and then I moved on from Angry Birds to PvZ, and then I got into Luigi Fan a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think he also did Angry Birds stuff, right? So that's like
I'm pretty sure it is. He has a huge collection. It's kind of cool because he makes a lot of custom plushes as well. Just so he can like provide characters for things that don't have like official releases, which I think is really cool. But yeah.
The next question I was going to ask you, this is a little bit generic, but a lot of these Plants vs Zombies ones are going to be naturally. What's your since you make Plants vs Zombies 2 videos, what's your favorite Power Mint class in Plants vs Zombies 2?
Ooh, interesting. I was gonna say, well, I don't know if I can mention the most recent episode that's come out, but I was wondering if the questions I was gonna get were like the same. So this is an interesting one. Now, does this include like just like the mint or just the family?
The whole
overall?
family. Like, which family of plants do you like the most?
Oh, easy answer. Probably ailment. I really like the mushrooms a lot. Yeah, I love using ailment in general. It's a really busted plant, but the family it supports is so good, especially in the realm of like PvZ1 plants. If I was able to use ailment, I would use it all the time. I used to use it all the time in Arena actually. I boost my like Scaredy Shroom, Fume Shroom setup in Arena to get mints and stuff.
Yeah, Scaredy Shroom isn't that bad, is it? Because they buffed it and so.
Scaredy Shroom is not that bad.
The plant food is just busted.
The plant food is so busted. Like I'm convinced. I think I remember when Sylvia YSI was doing her run of I think like which plant families
which family solos the game. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, she was streaming her run with the ailment family, and like Scaredy Shroom was just dominating. It was crazy watching like everyone in chat be like, oh, you're using Scaredy Shroom, and then the moment the plant food gets used, it just wipes out everything. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. How do you feel about all the power creep and everything with a lot of the newer plants that got, especially the ones that came from Plants vs Zombies 1?
I think it kind of sucks because I understand why they're doing it. It's kind of one of those things where it's like I don't agree with it from like a game design perspective, but I also like don't really know what else they could do. You know what I mean? Because like if every plant is balanced the same, it's just they're not gonna incentivize on players spending money on it, which is unfortunately just what they want. It's a business move.
I mean, they make the stadiums look free and everything. Like, oh, you can win it from Arena, you can win it from Penny's Pursuit, but it's really just they want you to buy that like $30 early access like bundle thing.
And it's embarrassing that sometimes it works because I think the one I think of that I bought early access was Doom Shroom. Because I just had to. So they got me. their strategies work is all I'm gonna say. Yeah. I grinded for Scaredy Shroom hard when he came out.
Oh yeah, I think I have it because I grinded for it as well. Yeah, it's like you can't pass up Scaredy Shroom. You gotta grind for Scaredy Shroom.
Exactly. I gotta see what they did with him.
Yeah. So
I did not grind for C Shroom though because he was a premium.
Oh yeah, I don't think I have C Shroom either. It's kind of funny because in Reflourish they have the costume of Sea Shroom, I think, for Puff Shroom, and then after that they actually added Sea Shroom to the game, so it might get a little bit confusing if they add Sea Shroom to Reflourished.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of sucks about power creep, I think, is that it kind of makes a lot of, I think especially modders, like see all these plants, and depending on, you know, what the plan is, be like, oh, that'd be cool to have in my mod if I can like balance this plant to actually fit in with the other ones. But a lot of later versions of PvZ2 are very unstable.
Yeah, you'd have to do a lot of tweaking.
It's kind of, yeah, like I've definitely had my fair share of like, what if I did try modding and like if I can use like Scaredy Shroom and Doom Shroom or whatever in my mod. But then I remember that it's just kind of not really the smartest move. I think the only mod I could think of off the top of my head that uses the latest version of PvZ2 is Shuttle. And from what I hear, Shuttle is kind of unstable. Like it's not really the most, what's the word, like it's hard to like run apparently for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too into the whole sphere of modding, but the next question I was going to ask you is, if you had to pick 3 plants to bring with you on a deserted island, which 3 plants would you bring?
Okay. Is this like, are we playing by like cartoon logic, or are we going by like I'm a human and I need to survive?
Well, just the logic of the games with you in the position of them, I guess.
Okay. Let's see. I guess I'm thinking I would need food, water, and shelter. So I'd probably try to find whatever plants are best for that. I guess protection could also count, but like I feel like realistically a lot of plants can just kill things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like need be.
That's the whole reason they exist.
I'd probably, I think for the sake of water, I'd probably go. These might be kind of generic answers, because like realistically, I'd probably choose my favorites. But if I'm thinking logically, I'd probably bring Aquavine.
Okay.
For the sake of food, I guess I don't have to eat it, but like it would help in obtaining food. For shelter, I'd probably go with Umbrella Leaf.
That makes sense. That's actually such a big brain plan.
And for protection, I think as well as food, I'd probably bring Turkey Pulp. There you go. I was thinking Soybean Pod as well, but I don't really know if I'd want to risk eating tofu zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're all made of tofu, so it's the same thing, really.
Exactly. There you go.
I'm surprised you didn't say Blover, because theoretically, well, you like Blover first of all, but also it could just blow you back to civilization.
I guess that's a fair point. I didn't think about that's why I asked, like, am I thinking of like cartoon things? I could also just bring like escape route and just teleport wherever I want.
Yeah.
Or like time warp and just avoid this question entirely.
Yeah, exactly. Just you could go back to before the podcast and think over it again and say, time warp.
Yeah, I can go back to before my channel existed.
Yep.
I wouldn't be here right now.
You could also bring Banana Launcher for food, because it's just like infinite bananas.
That's true. Or I could bring Hocus Crocus and just go wherever I want to go, I guess.
Oh yeah, exactly. You could just teleport back. Okay. What we learned from that is that Plants vs Zombies 2 has some crazy logic.
That's true. I agree.
Okay, so if you could delete one zombie from any Plants vs Zombies game, which would it be? Although I guess since you haven't played the Garden Warfare games, then I'm basically asking if you could delete one tower defense zombie, which would it be?
I was thinking about this the other day, because
really?
Yeah, I was thinking about specifically like zombies and levels in PvZ2 that I don't like. I think my easy answer would probably be, I think Dragon Imp, honestly. I hate Dragon Imp so much. It's funny because I remember when people would ask me what my favorite zombie was, I would default to Dragon Imp because I like their design. But anytime I've played like base game or a mod, I've just disliked Dragon Imp because I just think like, from a design perspective, full immunity to a damage type is just ridiculous. Like it's, I don't know. I feel like no zombie should be truly immune to one thing. Like I think if you want to like,
what about the Jester?
Be silly. Jester was up there too, as well as zombies like Excavator.
Yeah.
Because straightforward projectiles are so common compared to like lobbers. Parasol's up there too, but like it's again, it's like comparing something that's two things that are bad, one is much worse.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing you're not a fan of that modern day level that has the parasols and the imp dragons, and you have to like juggle the melon pults and snapdragons.
It's funny because I actually really like that level.
Okay.
Like, I love that level. I think it's so creative. It's just like, in terms of like a casual playthrough, like I think Dragon Imp works. Like a lot of these zombies work really well for like gimmicks or for countering very specific things. But it's just like generally, I think zombie resistance should be a thing, but I don't think zombie immunity should be a thing.
Okay.
Unless it's something like really specific, like for a boss.
No, well, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting probably something like, you know, Wizard, Octo Zombie.
They suck, but you can handle them. Wizard, bring an instant. Octo, if your setup can work around Octo, like the Octopi will barely make a difference.
Yep, and if you're in a Reflourish, just Hot Potato, or if you have a highly leveled Hot Potato in the base game, which I don't.
Just run like Starfruit and Gloomvine. There you go. You have just really fast DPS against Octopi. No problem. There you go.
Yeah, just any or
but Dragon Imp,
but Fat Beat's shit, so it probably wouldn't do much.
Yeah, I think about this one time I was playing a level in vanilla PvZ2 with Doomshroom, and there was a level with Dragon Imps, and I was just trying to test how well Doomshroom would do. And I guess just the fact that this one single imp could just like tank an infinite amount of Doomshroom is because Doomshroom's explosions count as fire damage. It was just like, this feels wrong. Like I get that as a player, I shouldn't be using one thing, but it's also like this is such a lame interaction, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so we know that you hate imp dragons, but do you hate Dark Ages overall? Because then the very next question I was going to ask is, what's your favorite and least favorite world in the game?
Favorite and least favorite world. I think my favorite. It's such a. It kind of sucks because it's like such a generic answer, but I really do think Neon Mixtape Tour is a lot of fun. I wish the level design was better, but the gimmicks,
the way they integrate,
the way it works
plants,
mechanically,
it's like, what?
That's also real bad.
What were they thinking?
I have no idea. I think literally the only plant that works in Neon Mixtape Tour, like just in vanilla, the only plant that works well is Time Warp and arguably Intensive Carrot because your stuff gets destroyed constantly.
Yeah,
it's just not a good option, you know.
But then it also works the other way. It's like, if your stuff keeps getting destroyed, you're gonna Intensive Carrot and then it just gets killed again. So you got to keep Intensive Carrot.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, you're Intensive Carroting pretty cheap plants in that world, like Celery Stalker, Fat Beat, or unless you bring other world plants, but still. Wait, so but you're saying Neon Mixtape 2 is your favorite?
I think it's my favorite because just overall, I like the way it plays. I like the vibe of everything. The plants are bad, and the level design is kind of bad. So
everything else is
if you're asking my favorite worlds, if you're asking a world just like, I guess I think the difference is like I'm thinking about it different from a game design perspective and like just a general enjoyment. I think my least favorite world would probably be Frostbite Caves, just because I think it's kind of boring.
I agree with you. I think it gets too much love. It's overrated.
Really? I've never heard anyone like really like for Frostbite Caves. I feel like I've been hearing a lot of negatives about it like more recently.
Yeah, well, I think it deserves to be dead last. Like a lot of the time, people say Big Wave Beach or Jurassic Marsh, especially Jurassic Marsh because there's less zombie variety and everything. But I still like Jurassic Marsh.
Oh, you know what? I might actually change my answer. I think my least favorite is Jurassic Marsh. I forgot about Jurassic Marsh. Because Frostbite Caves may be boring, but like it's funny because when I was playing through the world with only PvZ1 plants, I actually had a lot of fun because I had to find more creative ways to work around the frost mechanic. And that made the gameplay more interesting because I had to like think about how I would deal with this mechanic with even more limited options. And for the most part, it was pretty fair. There was a couple levels where it was like really pushing like, okay, this was... I mean, first of all, it wasn't designed for my challenge, but like, man, they're really pushing what I can get away with.
Yeah. But
Jurassic Marsh, just overall, I don't think I've ever like enjoyed. Like the music's good, the environment's cool, just kind of like Neon Mixtape Tour. But I think the level design and the zombies are so much worse.
It gets a bit repetitive, really.
It is. It forces one type of playstyle specifically, and that playstyle is not fun. You could either like deal with the dinos through keeping the zombies back, or you can do what I had to do when I was playing through the world with even less options, and it's just like base your defense all the way in the back. That's another way you can just play it overall. And it's just like, I don't know, the zombies are fine. It's just the dinos. The dinosaurs are so unfair.
Yeah, like, especially that Ankylosaurus. It's like, I just want to punch my computer every single time it hits a zombie all the way down and then bumps your plants off and everything. It's
yeah, I think about how Reflourished kind of balanced it a little bit by making it like once it activates its ability, once it goes away. In vanilla, it'll just keep going.
Oh, they actually, I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, they made it so it pushes it the same way, but once it pushes a zombie once, it'll like leave. So it's not like a constant threat that'll stay there for like who knows how long.
That's how it should have been in the start, really.
It really should have, but they just, I don't know.
This is another
don't really
question.
Understand how they.
This is another question. Oh yeah, by the way, I'll just quickly say this is my hot take on the whole worlds thing. I think Wild West is by far the worst world, but I don't think many people agree with me. And
you know
Far Future is pretty bad as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Oof. Can we like talk about this for like another minute?
Yeah, no,
like,
sure.
I kind of side with that. I think the minecart gimmick is kind of fun. And
I've heard way too many people say
fun.
it's like the best gimmick. I think Creeps made
Yeah.
a video about the different objectives and said that the minecarts are the best gimmick in the game, and it's like I can kind of see that, but I hate how they take up so much of the lawn. Like I can't plant in whole lanes and stuff. I mean rows or whatever. Columns.
Yeah, I kind of wish, like, honestly, an interesting plant that would maybe counteract that in an interesting way would be, as funny as it's gonna be to say this, like flower pot, in a way that you can like plant on the rails, and like because you have a plant on the rails, you can't like push the minecart further, which kind of defeats the point of it. But it does give the player an option of like, do they want to work with the minecarts or? I just think of vanilla where like minecarts very rarely like do anything level design wise, and Far Future is like cool everything, really boring world to play through.
That's what I was gonna say. The pacing is so slow because you have all the really tanky mechs, and it's just
I think that can work, but yeah, it's just I think like having tanky mechs and stuff is a really cool idea, but like EM Peach is way too good first of all for that, and like it's just I don't know, it's just boring. It's like cool as like a playground world where you can just like experiment with different plant foods and stuff. But like overall, it's just they don't really do enough with it because it's the fourth world,
What you said about the flower pots, that's like the only time I've heard someone come up with a feasible way of integrating it into the game, because it's like everyone's like eventually they're gonna bring back all the Plants vs Zombies 1 plants, or that's like I don't know, it's something that's on people's minds since they keep bringing back the old Plants vs Zombies 1 plants, but it's like the one plant no one can seem to figure out how to get added back is flower pot, and I think that's the only genuine way I've heard it could be brought back, even if it's still pretty niche.
Yeah, I mean, like even like Sea Shroom, as ridiculously specific as it is useful in its world to an extent. It's just like it's too niche to like really appreciate, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah. Oh, sorry. I was thinking about another plant that's really niche, but actually really useful. I forget when it was, but they did something. They changed the way lily pad works, so it's treated like a vine plant for some reason.
Yeah, and the fisherman hooks go over it now. I think that might be part of that.
Yeah, you can plant lily pads on the ground now. Which, yeah, which is like really random, but it actually has a lot of really niche things. For example, a lot of zombies walk over lily pad on the ground. Even zombies like Excavator, which target ground plants.
Yeah.
So in Lost City, you can use lily pad as a way to farm the gold tiles all the way on the far right of the lawn where you wouldn't plant zombies. You can put lily pad over flowers, and zombies will walk over it. Same like Spike Weed.
Oh my god. I gotta check out lily pad.
There's a couple niche interactions. Yeah, specifically, Doomshroom will not leave a crater if a lily pad is underneath it.
Wow.
There's like a bunch of like small things, and again, you can also use it now against fisherman zombies as like a counter. It also works for Gargs. Gargs will stop to destroy the lily pad, which makes it like a really cheap like secondary like plant you throw out just to keep a Garg stalled.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. I didn't know about any of that. All I knew was that the fisherman hook went over it because that's like the most common of those interactions, probably. But this is
Yeah.
another question that's kind of just randomly become recurring. How many imps
Go for
do
it.
you think you could take on in a fight?
I remember hearing this one.
Oh yeah, did you watch the Brando videos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not like a crazy good fighter. I haven't really been in a situation where I have to fight something. If we're going by like zombie logic, where like I'll get infected in one bite, it probably would be a matter of time. It wouldn't be like long before an imp would bite me and I'd die. I think if I were really to go all out and just like, you know, punch him, kick him, whatever, or, you know, follow PBZ logic and use like a plan to take it out. No, actually, no, it's just me. It's just me. Probably realistically, like maybe 4, 5, maybe.
Okay. I think that's pretty similar to what everyone said so far, but I think it would be really interesting to compare like how many imps everyone thinks they could take on after I've done like a lot of YouTubers.
Yeah, maybe with the adrenaline rush, I can take out more. But I'm just thinking about myself like casually. If like a bunch of imps were to start coming in my room right now, I'd probably like be able to take out a couple before they just eventually get to me.
Yeah, just get down, like grab your chair and just push them off. You know.
Yeah.
Full survival instincts.
Exactly.
Since you said that you haven't played a lot of the spin-off games, I'll ask you this one. Do you prefer Plants vs Zombies 1 or 2? Because I don't think you really answered that before.
Okay. That's fair. Sorry.
If you had to choose one, like if someone held a gun to your head and said Plants vs Zombies 1 or 2, which would you say?
Probably, I think 1 overall is just a stronger game. But there are things I really enjoy about 2 that 2 I think does better. Specifically, the difficulty and the pacing of 2 is really enjoyable. Sometimes it's a bit much, but like I really think that all it takes is just a redesign when it comes to like certain levels, certain plants, etc. But I really enjoy playing PvZ2. But overall, 1 is a lot more of a solid experience in general.
Yeah.
And it does have a very unique charm that PvZ2 I think replicates pretty well. But I think there's also just a lot of things that are like, yeah, it's kind of like there's a lot more ropes tying down PvZ2 compared to PvZ1. They're both solid games on their own. And 2 is a pretty good continuation, but PvZ1 just has, you know, more going for it in terms of being an overall good game experience.
I think in some ways it's even a bit of an unfair comparison because you're comparing a full like paid finished product with
that's true
this
too.
Free mobile game that's been evolving over time and still is. So it's like
it kind of sucks. Yeah. It's unfortunate because the more they add to PvZ2, that's kind of unnecessary to me.
It
just kind of soils the overall game experience, which is why I usually like I kind of put like an end around like maybe the expansions when it comes to PvZ2 in terms of like a full game. But obviously that also undermines a lot of the other cool stuff that was added afterwards, like a bunch of cool plants, zombies, ideas, etc. So it's kind of hard to say, but like there are things I can recognize that PvZ2 does good. It's just overall I'd probably prefer PvZ1 just in general.
Yeah, I think most people would. I mean, I don't even know myself what I would prefer. It's like picking between 2 children almost. Because when you grew up playing both of them and love them. Well, I think I've definitely played a lot more Plants vs Zombies 2 than Plants vs Zombies 1, but I think everyone has just because it's like Plants vs Zombies 1 is more quality over quantity, and Plants vs Zombies 2 is more quantity over quality. And I think for me, it's like neither one of them does those respective things better than the other. So I think it kind of balances out. Like the quantity of Plants vs Zombies 2 is just as strong as the quality of Plants vs Zombies 1, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think PvZ2 like as a game is maybe a little too long as like a full experience. That's like my only complaint about it. Like people do like challenges on PvZ2 like all in one sitting. I think about how I think the person that does it the best is probably Sylvia.
Sylvia does it in one sitting?
Or like usually in one video. Like I think about one video, okay. I think I could be wrong. I think I'm not wrong, but I think about I think her Mints only video or her Vines only video was like one full video, and I think she managed to condense it within like maybe like 30 minutes or something.
That's
and
crazy.
I was like, yeah, PVZ2 is so big. I'm just like, I'm so impressed that you can condense it that small. Because it's
there's
just
a lot
like,
of different ways people approach the challenges, because
that's true.
I think the way that I approach it, and maybe you do as well, because we usually, when we do challenges, we have similar amounts of episodes, like 3 or so. It's like, if there's multiple levels that are like the same-ish kind of, I'll just like skip over the more boring ones, whereas the people like Shagrod and Brando who do each episode per world, they kind of look at it through the lens of they're also like retelling the game, because I think maybe for both of them it was the first time they'd played through it in a while, so everything was more new. But for me, for example, I've done 3 different challenges on the game. I'm not going to go like, this is Explorer Zombie, this is Sarcophagus Zombie and everything. It's like, I condense it a lot more, so I don't talk about it as if I'm targeting it towards people who haven't played the game in ages. I'm targeting it towards Plants vs Zombies 2, like diehards, I guess. And that kind of shows in the episode density, I guess.
I'm really bad at doing that, honestly. I really like going into detail. Yeah, I think about like that's a good example of like, this is Explorer Zombie. If I were to do another challenge, I would definitely like bring up like, oh, this is the day that this zombie is introduced, and so on and so on.
Yeah, that's what I don't.
Maybe, you know, I wouldn't go into like, you know, they do this and they do that and they do this, but like, just to like, so you know, someone that's seen PVZ2 can be like, okay, I understand why they're bringing this up.
Yep.
But someone that's new to it can be like, oh, this is something new. I feel like I like to brand my content to, I guess, as many people as possible, because although I like to slip in a lot of things that like, if you know, you know what I mean. Overall, I think my content, I like to do a lot of variety in my content, so I like to make sure that like anyone can watch a video related to a new subject and be like, okay, I kind of get what this is about, and so on, you know.
I think that's especially important for Plants vs Zombies, because a lot of the time people watching haven't played it in a while, and they're just nostalgia. They're kind of like nostalgia watching, and it's because I get a lot of comments. Well, when I made my challenges, especially the first one I did, the 1 seed slot challenge, I got a lot of comments like, "Oh damn, I haven't played this game in so long. Like, this is so nostalgic and stuff." And it's like, when a video gets really big, like I think that video has nearly 2 million views now, but it's like,
dang,
you don't get that many views on a video without the algorithm like pushing it to a bunch of people who haven't played the game in ages, and they kind of like get back into it. I think especially for Shagrod's challenge, I think that got a lot of people back into Plants vs Zombies 2.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like, I still think about how much they blew up. It's wild.
Yeah, and your
congrats
Plants
to
vs Zombies 2 with only Plants vs Zombies 1 plants, that also got really big as well, didn't it?
Yeah, that was I think I congratulated everyone for 300 subscribers in part 1, and then the second part I think I was congratulating for 4,000.
Wow.
And I remember I think I remember getting Shagrod's video recommended to me, and at the time I was just like, oh, that's cool, another challenge. But I think it wasn't until like maybe a couple months back, around the time they finished it, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, what happened was that I had their like full movie of like beating PVZ with only nuts in my watch later for the longest time, because I wanted to watch it, but I also wanted to like sit down and watch it, you know?
Yeah.
So I finally did that, and like as the video was progressing, I was like seeing the progression of their channel, and I remember at the end of like I think it was around the time they got to modern day, they were like, thank you so much for 80,000 subscribers, and I was like, oh my god, like this one series has been going on throughout their channel, and in that time span they've like surpassed me in like subs, and I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, Shagrod's, his series just went crazy.
It did.
I was gonna ask
honestly,
you,
it's deserved. It's a good series.
Yeah, it is. I was really impressed by your how instead of just making a movie, like stitching all the videos together, you did for your Plants vs Zombies 1 plants, you made a movie of it, except you didn't just stitch everything together and re-upload it. You like remastered the videos. And I thought that was really good.
I don't know. I'm a perfectionist at heart, so I like to make sure, and especially because I remember for when I made the video on the expansion levels, I had to rewatch my original series to like kind of capture a similar editing style.
Yep.
And just like get the vibe of how I made it.
Mm.
So, and I remember I was watching through it, I was noticing so many little problems, and there was a lot of really annoying things that went into like kind of remastering it, but I'm so much more happy of it as a project overall. And I don't know, I think I'm just happy that it was worth kind of waiting for that long. It's funny because I remember I recently got a comment from someone that got recommended the full movie video, and I guess I don't know if they just hadn't watched my channel for a while, but they were like, "Oh, I was enjoying rewatching this video, and then I noticed like halfway through there's like an extra hour of content, so thank you for adding that in." And I was like, I made the fourth part like a couple months ago, like, but that's a really cool experience. 'Cause I'm like, damn, they've been away for so long that I made a whole other like part to it, and now they get to watch the full movie with like almost like a whole separate half of the movie, and I was like, that's cool.
That's one of the advantages of making the movies as well. It's like it helps you expose certain parts or like videos that people might not have seen if they didn't watch the movie. So it's like, for example, when you did the expansion levels, that video probably didn't get as many views as the like original trilogy, right?
Nah, it was a while after, which is fair. That's kind of on me for taking so long, but
it's like with the movie, it's like a lot more people would have got to see that video when they originally might not have. So shit, everything's falling apart here. I'm a professional podcaster, don't worry. So Plants vs Zombies 3 opinions.
Oh boy, I have never actually played PvZ3. I was waiting until something came out officially, like a final build. I was letting them kind of get in all their changes, all their bug fixing out of the way. But now it's gone back into the shadows. Yep. I'm not really sure what's going to happen next.
Back in development hell.
I will say like from everything I've seen, and this is just as a spectator, so I can't like fully stick with this opinion because obviously I won't know it until I play it. But from what I've seen, I don't really like it because it just seems like it's going through like an identity crisis. It feels like the tower defense genre that is integral to the first two games is kind of like fighting with the the more casual like town building kind of aspect, and I think that can work. I haven't played PvZ China in a long time, but there's so many other like additions just to make it, I guess, to give you more that the player could do. At least at the time that I was playing it. So like I don't mind that concept. It's just like you have to decide what goes first, and I feel like although they're prioritizing a lot of it's kind of weird. Like it's like they're kind of prioritizing the tower defense aspect more, but then they have this other aspect of the game. It's kind of like they have two halves of something, and they're like trying to balance them, but like it's just unequal, you know?
Yeah.
And especially when a lot of the audience only cares about one half of the thing, it's like it's hard to balance that equally if like that most of your audience doesn't even enjoy the whole other half of your project, you know?
Yep. And I think I said this in a past episode, but I'll quickly say it again. The way they do the soft launches is they're sending it out to the most like die-hard Plants vs Zombies fans who keep up with all the soft launches and everything, and get a VPN to transport themselves to time warp themselves, hocus crocus themselves to like Thailand or Vietnam or wherever the soft launches have been. I think Australia as well. And it's like you're promoting a puzzle game for middle-aged people. You want feedback from Plants vs Zombies fans for a generic puzzle game which isn't aimed at them, but just has Plants vs Zombies slapped on it. It's like they should be doing the soft launches for like grandmas and stuff. They shouldn't be doing it for like us. I don't know. The way they're doing it. That's
exactly
what
I mean by it has like an identity crisis. It's like fighting between what it wants to do. Because one half is so different from the other half. Like you can combine them together, but you have to do that in such a delicate way, I find.
And it's like you can see the half-bakedness of the identity crisis with stuff like all the features they add it but don't go the whole way. Like, for example, with Choose Your Seeds, they added that back. But they didn't add the part where you see the zombies. So it's like, why are you choosing your seeds when you don't know what zombies you're countering? So I don't know. Oh, well, they did add a button where you press it and it shows like a list of the zombies. But it's not the same as like the camera going across and you see the zombies.
Yeah, I mean, it works. But I get what you mean. It's not. Again, it's just like, I don't know how they're gonna go about it. And even then, it kind of feels like they're going closer in a PvZ2 route where it's like you can play the game forever. And I mean, I guess I just don't think that really works for a PvZ game.
Yeah, like, I think they're going for the Candy Crush kind of thousands of levels kind of thing, like endless. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just doesn't really. I mean, I guess it could work, but the problem is that I feel like PvZ as a game is very. The gameplay is not really. I mean, you can play it casually, but for the most part, you want to put a lot of thought into playing the game, you know? And I feel like for things like Candy Crush, match 3s are a lot easier to just kind of like turn your brain off and go for it.
Yeah.
But in a tower defense game, you can't really do that because it's a strategy game, you know?
That's really how I describe the whole game in general. It's like a match 3 game, except take out the match 3 gameplay and just put Plants vs Zombies. That's what it is basically.
Yeah,
like you have the lives, you have all of that stuff.
It's just it's their homescapes-ifying Plants vs Zombies.
It's and just homescapes. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't really know. I just don't think it works as a concept.
I like the idea of having a story, properly like laid out story, but at the same time, I don't like how they didn't do a Plants vs Zombies story. They did a Homescape story. Like, I think they could have been more creative instead of just copying the Homescapes formula. They could have integrated the story differently. Like how in Plants vs Zombies 1 and 2, you have like Crazy Dave and Penny at the start of levels talking and stuff. I think they could have elaborated more on that. But instead, they went the whole, like, in between levels, there's, like, you choose the different decorations for the town and whatever.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't really work, I feel. Like, the thing about Homescapes, I think for the most part, even though the gameplay lies in the match 3 aspect, the other aspect of designing something is a lot more fleshed out. So it's kind of like, there's a balance there. But for PvZ 3, it just doesn't really feel like they're, at least, again, this is from, like, totally watching other people play it.
Yep.
It doesn't really seem like the balance is there because, again, a lot of players seem confused about what the game is trying to be.
Yeah,
and it just seems like a lot of
another aspect of the identity crisis.
Yeah, a lot of PvZ fans like don't enjoy it because it just seems like it's trying to be different. It's like it wants to have its cake and eat it too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like it's presenting all these familiar things, but it's not really giving it, I guess, the attention it maybe needs. It's making a cake, it's putting it in the oven, it's just taking it out whenever to present to you, and it's kind of like this is fine, but like it's missing something, you know?
Yeah.
I just don't really see it working, unfortunately.
On that really grim note, where do you see the future of Plants vs Zombies going? Where do you see Plants vs Zombies in 10 years' time?
Ooh, in 10 years' time. I think it'll still be around in some regard. Honestly, I think the future of PvZ is in modding.
Interesting.
Because, and it's funny because I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that it was shut down. There was a popular mod project that was shut down related to PvZ 3. I think they were trying to mod the game.
Yeah, it was like How It Could Have Been or something.
But because obviously PvZ 3 is still actively being developed and they want to push it out as its own thing first, like I believe, someone got in contact with them and be like, hey, you can't mod our game for whatever reason.
I find that really interesting because how come they don't go after Reflourished when it's very big and a lot of people, I'd even say like a good chunk of people who used to play Plants vs Zombies 2 vanilla are playing Reflourished exclusively now and not paying for the premium plans. So I'm surprised that I understand that Plants vs Zombies 3 is their current thing, so they're going to try and defend that IP the most, but Plants vs Zombies 2 is still making a lot of money probably, and they might be missing out on some from Reflourished.
I think that's the thing. I think PvZ 2 is making enough money for it not to be a problem, but because PvZ 3 is still new. It's kind of like, I guess the best way to simplify it is that PvZ2 is still making money. PvZ3 is not making money because it's not like it's not fully released yet. So it's like people modding the game are really taking away from their profits.
Taking away the future profits, yeah.
Yes. So it's more of a threat to them right now. Whereas PvZ2, I mean, I guess they could. I sincerely hope they don't crack down on modding. But like, and I don't think they're going to, because again, PvZ2 is still making money.
Yep.
It's just, I don't know. I do think the future of PvZ is in modding, and I think as time progresses, people will find more ways to get into PvZ2 in terms of the code. And I mean, I think people are seeing it now. Like, I've seen a lot of impressive mods, and there's even people that are just like recreating the entire game from scratch. Like, PvZ2 Gardenless is almost an entire remake of PvZ2 while also adding their own content, and it's like, once, like, if that were to go like huge, like if it were to be like accessible for anyone to mod, that would be even crazier, because that basically gives the ability for anyone to do anything related to PvZ2.
Yeah.
So I think people are just gonna find ways to recreate PvZ2 and maybe even eventually PvZ3 in a way that they want it to be. Like, I've seen so many videos, or not videos, but like just like things from people like, oh, I want to make my own fan game, I want to make my own mod, I want to make this and that. And it's like, I just think people are going to take the franchise and just kind of put it in their hands, rather than kind of putting their hands out for, PopCap and EA to give them what they want, because it just doesn't really seem like, well, they're giving them, it's still, they're still being worked on. It's just that what's being provided is not something that the player base really wants.
Yeah. Again, with the whole demographic thing, it's like the games they're making now aren't for Plants vs. Zombies fans. It's like Plants vs. Zombies Match as well. If you haven't played Plants vs. Zombies 3, you probably haven't played Plants vs. Zombies Match, right?
I've heard of it, but I've never played it. No.
It's just, when we're talking about Plants vs. Zombies 3 being like a Match 3 game, Plants vs. Zombies Match is a Match 3 game. And it's like, it's... Just imagine the kind of game that they would make now with how Plants vs. Zombies 3 is turning out, and that's exactly what it's like.
It's so weird, because if they have that, they might as well just make like a side game. But but then again, the side game is not going to sell as well, because it's a side game. People are going to be like, oh, whatever, it's not PvZ3.
Yeah.
That's probably why they're trying to do it, because they can make a lot of money from PvZ3 on its own, as its own app, its own game, and also make a lot of money from the fact that it's PvZ3. People are going to want to play PvZ3.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's really funny how they kind of, in the one way they kind of gave everyone what everyone was asking for, is they changed the way they monetize the game so that premium plants aren't a thing anymore. So it's like they're going to be monetizing power-ups and lives and stuff more instead. So it's like, we took away premiums, you happy guys? It's
they're years
I want
too
my
late
premiums
to that.
back.
I mean, they stopped premiums like so long ago anyways. It's just they find new ways to monetize things that aren't as, I guess, intrusive.
Well, I'd like to think that the CDMs make so much more money than just releasing like straight up premium plants.
That's true. They could also sell them for more, because they offer more things. Like the Doom, like for example, I think of the Doom Shroom early access thing was like, I think $20, and I was not happy with dropping that money, but it was for the sake of I wanted to use this plan, and also for future channel stuff.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, you could claim it on tax.
It was like, yeah, I remember. I think when I think Ice Shroom came out, there was like a mini bundle that was like Ice Shroom and like a few seed packets. But because Doom Shroom was early access, on top of the fact that they can offer more seed packets, it was like they can increase the price for something that's not really worth it.
Yeah.
And then you see like Sea Shroom, for instance, which they didn't even bother. They just put it in the premium shop to buy immediately for like $1. So.
yeah, that was an interesting one. I don't know. That was because usually they don't do that. They just do the same old CDM.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish they just made it. a $1 premium plan, because you can still buy after you buy Sea Shroom, you can still buy Sea Shroom seed packets in the shop for $1 until I don't know if it like expires or whatever, but it's just weird. It's like they knew that Sea Shroom wouldn't be popular, so they were like, we might as well sell it for cheap, because at least it's $1.
Yeah, just a quick nostalgia bait.
Yeah, usually like, well, I get what people say when they say like nostalgia bait and stuff, but like that's like the one example where I'm like, okay, yeah, they're definitely they realize that this idea is kind of flimsy, but
Yeah.
they might as well go with it anyways. And
I mean,
just
there is
market it
no
differently.
other way. There's no other reason that they would bring back Sea Shroom. That's approaching gold magnet levels of unnecessary.
Yeah, or Flower Pot, which
Do you think they'll ever add gold
eventually
magnet?
they'll be added.
Mm.
I think they would. They probably.
I don't think
like,
so. But
I think they would because it's just it's too easy. They probably rework it in a way that's interesting. Like honestly, I think Sea Shroom was like definitely the. If they added Sea Shroom in, they could add anyone in. I think that.
yeah, they kind of just set
And
a
with
new,
other plants
the
like
bar's set really low now.
yeah, an Umbrella Leaf, for example, being in PvZ3, it's just like they can do it. And I
Yeah,
think
what's
I
some-
honestly,
Well, they did add the catapult zombie, didn't they? Or was that
yeah,
something
they added
else?
the Zomboni, they added the bobsled team.
It's just-
I think they.
It's just
Yeah,
they're
so,
so
like-
shameless now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining because it's more content I can point
Yeah.
my finger at and be like, "Whoa, guys, look at this!"
At
and
least
like,
it's
it
Plants vs.
totally could
Zombies
work.
1.
It's just, yeah, like again, these ideas could work. It's just like obviously it's a different game now.
Yeah.
So.
The intentions
really have the
behind it
same
are a
level of
bit
quality.
shady.
Yeah,
But, I
which is
mean,
why I really
I was-
wish like
Sorry?
I was gonna say that's why I wish like more modern versions of PvZ were more accessible, so people can do something with these cool ideas. But
Hmm.
it's
What do you
harder.
mean? What do you mean by more accessible?
I guess like if well, from what I understand, newer versions of PvZ2 are not really as stable to
Okay.
mod or to run. So it's like if that was figured out, like I just think of all the cool things people can do with all these ideas that are kind of half baked and released.
Mm.
But we'll have to wait.
I can
and
guarantee
see.
one day there'll be a mod
Yes.
where they make Doom Shroom like the original Doom Shroom.
I mean, and even if there is no mod for that, there's Gardenless, which is an entirely separate game that they can add whatever they want to.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Gardenless, I think, even is starting to add like Sky City. So like
Oh
when it
wow.
comes to it being its own thing, yeah, they can do whatever they want. It's their game essentially.
Mm.
Like they have all the code is all theirs to use.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. But yeah.
I think now we've been recording for an hour, and that's all of the
Alright.
Plants vs Zombies 1 topics. Well, not Plants vs Zombies 1, just Plants vs Zombies topics wrapped up. So I think we're gonna cut here and get into the more spicy original Alex questions.